Just over a year ago, a number of organizations, IdeaStream included, and the full list of partner organizations, which you'll see in your program booklets, came together to collaboratively address a key question. How can we help entrepreneurs who want to make a positive impact on the community? Together, the collaborators developed an initiative that did just that, help those who want to improve the community and sustain their efforts through the sale of goods and/or services. Over the course of the year, the partners provided coaching and connections, and as of tonight, capital to the very best social enterprises in the region. Some of them were just ideas when they came on board. Others were already operating for-profits and nonprofits. But regardless of their legal status, which isn't that germane to what we're doing with Sea Change, they're all for impact. They're all trying to improve the community and make money while doing it. We call this program Sea Change, Social Enterprise Accelerator. And of course, we're also playing off of the literal definition of the term, a notable or profound transformation. This notable or profound transformation would not have been possible without the help of the Sea Change funders. So please help me thank the following: Business of Good Foundation, Generation Foundation, the Burton D. Morgan Foundation, the Fred A. Lennon Charitable Trust, and the George Gunn Foundation. I'd also like to thank the many mentors. Again, this is a collaborative initiative. It doesn't have a full-time staff. It doesn't have a building in which we sit. It doesn't have any of the typical overhead you might associate with a new program or any program. But there are many mentors who were involved and gave up their time to provide a lot of coaching and guidance to the presenters. So I'd like to thank them for spending the countless hours, hundreds of hours, working with and providing guidance to the Sea Change enterprises. The list of all the mentors is on the back of your program. Thank you to all of them. So tonight, we have a full agenda, lots of presentations, so hope you stick around and hear all of them because they're all really terrific. We'll start with a keynote address by Brandon Krastowski, who is the founder and CEO of Edwin's, one of Cleveland's most exciting and successful social enterprises that came online just a little over a year ago. And then we'll hear from the top 8 Sea Change enterprises, each who've gone through the 6-week accelerator program and months of pitch practices. And they'll all present their pitches today after lots and lots and lots of practicing and refinement. And at the end, we will announce the investees who will share $50,000 in funding to accelerate their ideas here in Northeast Ohio. And please be sure to join us at the reception that will follow the presentations today to interact with all of today's social enterprises, enjoy the delicious food and libations provided by Edwin's. But first, let me introduce the sponsor of tonight's Crowd Favorite Award, Social Venture Partners Cleveland. Hillary Sparks Roberts, who is the Social Venture Partners Executive Director, will share some more information about the organization and describe the Crowd Favorite Award. Hillary?
Thank you so much, Mike. I'm thrilled to be here tonight, and I can't wait to hear from Brandon Krastowski and your slate of inspiring social entrepreneurs. In fact, SVP, as Mike said, is providing a $1,000 Crowd Favorite Award, which everyone here will get to vote on. When it comes time to vote, please consider the following: the viability of the organization to be self-sustaining, the social impact it will generate, and the strength of the founder. And I'd recommend you take some notes as you go, especially so you can remember those early pitches. But first, a few words. I am not a betting woman, but I'm willing to take a risk tonight. I'm willing to bet that you all have more in common than not. I'm willing to bet that you care deeply about Cleveland and about Northeast Ohio. I'm willing to bet that as much as you might like to, most of you don't personally invest thousands of dollars in nonprofits across the city and this region. I'm even willing to bet that each one of you wishes you could do more. But what if you could make a lasting impact on our region? What if you could do more than write a check? What if you could pool your time and experience and money with other Greater Clevelanders to make strong nonprofits even stronger through collaborative problem solving? What if you could have a say in which nonprofits you selected each year? And what if you could work with these nonprofits not just for a single year, but for 3? The good news? You can. Social Venture Partners, SVP for short, lets you do all of this. We're a group of 80-plus individuals aged 25 to 87 who pool our passions and unique backgrounds and skills and apply them to the challenges facing the nonprofits we select. We build a relationship with them. We offer them unrestricted funds and tailored strategic support. We have their backs. And our partners, they come from the for-profit and the nonprofit worlds. They are engineers and entrepreneurs, doctors and lawyers, artists and teachers, introverts and extroverts, millennials and boomers. So pool your passions with us, capitalize on your skills, and make a powerful difference. And if you end up loving this evening of spectacular fast pitches as much as I'm sure you will, join us on November 4th for our version called Big Bang, which is a showcase of social innovation. Emerging from the crucible of an earlier Big Bang is tonight's keynote. In 2013, Brandon Krostowski decided to apply both as a fast pitch presenter at Big Bang and to our investment cycle. And in true Brandon fashion, he nailed both. He captivated the audience and later our partners. Brandon's in the second year of our three-year engagement with SVP, and together we've tackled matters ranging from business plans and fundraising to marketing and outcomes measurement. So I'm going to leave it to Brandon to share his story and his passion for his work. He's a remarkable man on a remarkable mission. But don't take my word for it. Hear from Brandon yourself and see why we at SVP have chosen to share our money and time and strategic skills with Brandon and his unique social enterprise called Edwin's. And then sit back and see change happen with this electrifying group of entrepreneurs. Thank you. Thank you.
I almost got her on the lips. Sorry. Sorry about that. Well, thank you, and good evening. I really appreciate you allowing me to share my story with you today. I always go back to this moment when I was working with a chef, a great chef named Charlie Trotter. And he gave me a valuable lesson in life that allows me to be here today. And he said, make it happen. He said, make it happen with what you have. What he did was he gave me a simple kitchen lesson that gave me the wherewithal to go through a long journey with an impossible task, which was considered impossible, and be here. So my world is blessed each day with the satisfaction as a restaurateur and community leader. But not a day goes by that I forget that moment years ago when, as a young man with reckless energy, with a single mother doing her best, that her simple home was surrounded by U.S. Marshals who were looking for and found me. They plucked me out of my home, and I set on a brief but unforgettable journey that allows me to stand in front of you today with dignity and pride. Two things I never thought I'd be saying to anyone after that moment. My goal today is I hope my story inspires you. I hope it inspires you to make it happen with what you have. I hope this mic works on both sides next time, too. In the meanwhile, I really hope it does. I hope that this journey allows you to see that no matter who you are or where you come from, that you can do it. Those of you in the crowd, I hope that you don't sell yourself short in saying that, hey, with my talent and my treasures, I can complete someone's dream as well. And one thing about Edwin's, when you fight hard together, nothing is impossible. And I mean nothing. So I go back to that moment, standing in front of that judge, my fate hanging in between that space between the man in robes and me. And what I remember most about that day is that feeling of being helpless. I remember that feeling of that judge having every power in his hand to do what he wished with me. I was a cold lump on his plate. But what he decided to do was give me a second chance. He said I had more to offer. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that moment of having that second chance. My road quickly led to a restaurant in downtown Detroit, and under a chef named George. And what he decided I needed was a skill. He decided what I needed was a skill and some sort of direction in my life. And I'll never forget what George did for me. He was a mentor. He watched over me. He embraced me, and he taught me. Many of you in this room had a mentor. And if you can picture that, him or her, that was George, with pudgier hands though. He was a big Greek chef. I mean, he had an enormous fist, and when I always remember him as he cut. So, George did more than nourish me with the art of culinary and the business of hospitality. He also inspired me with the knowledge that honing a young person with a skill, especially a young person on the wrong path, was the greatest thing that you could do. He gave me the direction. He told me that it wasn't practice that makes perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect. And that lesson allowed me to go all over the world and work. He gave me the recipe for success. So I committed myself to this craft. I took it and ran. I was the first person to go away to college in my family out of state. I went to the Culinary Institute of America at Hyde Park, New York. Immediately when I was there, I noticed that, hey, I wasn't just some follower, some straggler, or chopped liver. I was someone who was a leader, and I was contributing right away. George taught me the lessons that it took to make it in this business. And from there, I said, the sky's the limit. So I applied for Charlie Trotter in Chicago, and he said, I'll take you. And then he ran me almost into the ground, but I got back up. And then I said, well, that was fun. I'd like to take a little bit more pain. So I said, let's go to France. So I hopped a flight to France without ever speaking the language, knocking on a chef's door, and he employed me. I worked hard enough, learned the language quick enough to work my way up to Paris to a Michelin 3-star restaurant. From there, it was Manhattan to the finest. And in 2004, I said, damn it, what I have here is too good. I'm on borrowed time. For me, it should have been 10 years behind bars, not just a year's probation. I'm on borrowed time, and I'm going to keep pushing it, and I'm going to give that lesson that George gave to me and build it. So in 2004, I returned to the Culinary Institute of America and wrote the business plan for what you see today, Edwin's. So that 10 years in the wilderness was a long time. It doesn't happen overnight. And that's always my advice to anyone starting up a new social venture, is that it takes time. And those lessons along the way, that wilderness is where you're really going to find the core of what you do and how you do it. So, why Cleveland? It had the worst graduation rate in 1998 for public schools. That's when I graduated high school. That's when I found George. So I figured there's a lot of me's that didn't meet George's. So, Cleveland it was. In 2009, moved here to Cleveland, started opening up a restaurant called Albatross, and had a blast doing it. But I couldn't turn my head to this astonishing fact of Cleveland and this problem that we have with reentry. You see, we have 5% of the world's population, 5%, yet we hold 25% of the prison population in the world. Those numbers don't add up. We have 2.3 million people behind bars right now, around 51,000 in the state of Ohio. And if you take the whole justice system, you're looking at about 6 million. In Ohio, 1 in 6 individuals have been touched by the justice system. And it's not cheap. As a nation, $74 billion we spend to do it. That's 6 times more on higher education. So we're out of whack, plain and simple. We don't have it together. And the most astonishing fact is 43% in this United States will return to prison after 3 years, or within 3 years. So this recycling of humans doesn't jive. And that was the inspiration for Edwin's. This is how we began. And though the problem seems big, that mountain seems high, the number is outstanding, outrageous, outrageous. There's something sweet in all this. There was something very sweet that I found in this climb up the mountain. And that's you. It's our community. You see? Our community has risen up to fight. It's the Matt Fieldmans in the crowd who said, let's connect the dots. It's organizations like SVP who said, hey, let's help build some infrastructure. It's businesses out there, our community business like Jones Day and Bialowski, and said, hey, this one's on us, we got it. It's the foundations that say, take this, do good. It's everyone that you're probably seated next to, if not yourself, that helped make Edwin's what it is today. It was even once a 7-year-old child who gave us $1.72 of our allowance. That's heroic. Everyone gave outside their means to make Edwin's happen. And if it wasn't for you, you're not looking at it. So what is Edwin's? Edwin's is hope. Edwin's is hope and a way to achieve it. It's a 6-month program that takes men and women through culinary arts and hospitality in a fine dining restaurant, just like George did for me. It's taking every man and woman who have gone through the justice system and giving them that second chance, that fair second chance. Each student gets business basics. Then they work every position in the restaurant over those next 5.5 months. And afterwards, we take and place them in jobs. Most importantly, we support them. We've got their back. We've got their back. So no matter what the problem is, no matter what that trouble, we're going to be there supporting them, getting the right plan in place and putting that network together. So our family is getting bigger by the moment. You can imagine. Every student that comes in, they're one of us now, and we're doing this together. And my approach is simple. It's humans helping humans. As simple as that. If you complicate it, we're going to lose it. It's seeing someone and saying, we can help you. So from the beginning, we never ask what your past offense was, what your previous life was. We don't even ask that, nor do we demand a certain level of education. We look for passionate individuals who are willing and open and ready to make that change in their life. And when we find them, we don't let go. Like I said, no matter what happens, we don't surrender to fear. If someone relapses, we're going to go set up a plan, work with their family, work with their sponsor, and get them back on track. If someone gets thrown in jail, I'll visit them within the next day or two and say, hey man, here's what's going to happen. You keep studying, we'll keep working, and we'll see you in a couple months. So we're not turning our backs on someone. It's not going to get done just one try. Our mission is to change the face of reentry. Change it. It's just the same thing that Martin Luther did with civil rights. We have a community of individuals that we need to cleanse and redo. And we can do that. We can do it. We're doing it tonight. We're changing perspective. The first perspective that our goal to change is our students. Educate them to a new reality. Let them see the world a little bit differently and know that it's possible. We just change one perspective. Our diners who come in every night who say, hey, that was some great Bordeaux and some wonderful duck confit, and it was all done by who? So there's this disconnect that a human isn't capable of doing something because of their past. So we're educating everyone every night. And lastly, teaching in prison. So every Sunday for 9 months, I'll go and teach and graft in prison. And not only are we opening a new reality, instilling more hope into those walls, we're also educating our correction officers and wardens that, hey, it's not just a number that you're looking at. You're looking at a great human being who's capable of making a souffle that they usually eat at the end of the day anyways. So we're slowly doing it. We're slowly doing it. We're not surrendering, we're pushing, and we need your help to do it. Every human being, regardless of their past, deserves a fair and equal future. They deserve a fair and equal future, and that's what we're here to do. So where's that gotten us? As Hillary said, a year and a half we've been open. In that year and a half, nearly $2 million in business. The profits from that offset over two-thirds of the cost to running the Institute. We have 63 graduates, 95% are working. 0 back into prison. 0. They've got it. So for anyone who says it's impossible, well, I've got words not for the camera for them. It's possible. It really is. So we're moving. We're not afraid to take chances. There's a committed team, and it's not just myself. There's a team of individuals clocking in over 700-800 hours a week to make this work. Because when you believe that someone's no dream is too big, then you have to work the extra hours to help fulfill it. So sending students to France, to Chicago, to Boston happens, but it takes a lot of work to make that happen. So I couldn't be more thankful for the team that we have here at Edwins. But again, taking chances, going to that next level. When we see a need, attack it and move on. Our next need we need to fill is housing. You'll go out, have a good dinner, but you know what? That student may be going back to their car, or they may be going back to the shelter, which isn't okay. So what we announced in December is a housing project, a dorm room. And in 3 months, Cleveland stepped up and raised $1.2 million. So we're this much closer to making a whole dorm room setting and a new home for our students possible. And it's not going to stop there. We will not stop. A meat shop, a fish shop, build the best culinary school in the United States of America by changing perception, by changing realities. And that's how we're going to make it happen. So before we begin, I want to congratulate first the presenters for, one, having the courage to live a purpose-driven life. Any real social entrepreneur will tell you that to do this, you've got to put your community first, your business second, and yourself third. So I congratulate you. And I also congratulate you in the crowd for packing the house on a Monday night in Cleveland, Ohio, with spring on the horizon. You could have been out getting a tan, but you weren't. You filled the room up with hope, and that says a whole lot. So with all the courage and all the hope we have in this room, there's no doubt we're going to make this happen tonight. So thank you very much, and enjoy. Thank you. I'm going to go in back. Thanks.
Oh my goodness. Woo! That was inspiring. I feel like an underachiever compared to, like I should drop what I'm doing and go do something else. So let's get a little more inspiration. We have 8 very, very inspiring entrepreneurs sitting before you right here who've been working very, very hard on their social enterprises, the future Edwins of our community. And I'd like to kick it off with Justin Bachman, the founder of Honor Good Deeds.
My name is Justin Bachman. I'm 17 years old, and I am different. My story really starts back in elementary school. I was a scared, insecure, and lost child. I had nothing close to an identity, wasn't good at making friends, and I never seemed to fit in. I was picked on, relentlessly, every single day. I thought I was worthless. It got so bad that I attempted suicide 3 times before I was 11 years old. Thankfully, my family got me help, and I made it out alive. In 7th grade, I was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome. My confidence shot through the roof. I finally had that identity that I needed for so long. In 8th grade, after being disqualified from a cross-country meet because officials didn't understand my condition, I knew that I needed to take action. But I also knew I wasn't alone. People around the world face intolerance every day just for being who they are, and I wasn't okay with that. The answer came in 2010, when I founded Honor Good Deeds. Our mission is to empower people, to embrace their differences and live loud. And we do this through interactive events, social media campaigns, and full school assemblies. Some of our programs consist of what you see on screen. Living Loud is a program I do in schools as a full school assembly where I share my personal stories of facing intolerance. But the goal is to have everyone who attends leaving feeling more confident in who they are and being able to show it off to others. The Tolerance Fair is an event that creates communities for belonging, fosters passion, leading to positive self-worth, and promotes education to overcome ignorance. And our leadership academies are groups of students in schools that work together under our guidance and mentorship to bring tolerance fairs to their community. Now, at Honor Good Deeds, we have numerous stories of success. One that I hold close to my heart comes from Cincinnati, Ohio. A girl came up to me after hearing Living Loud, said that she had planned on committing suicide that night. But after hearing my story, how I was able to make it through my hard times, she knew that she could as well, that her life was worth it. That has happened 13 times since then. Another story, a girl came to our first tolerance fair. Before it, ate alone at school. She didn't want others to see her alone, so she would sit in the guidance office, an empty classroom, or even the bathroom. But after coming to our fair, she got involved with an animal rescue group, met like-minded people, one of whom just so happened to go to her school. And then she had that group of friends she'd wanted for so long. Now, at Honor Good Deeds, we don't just celebrate differences. We live them. Technically, we play in the anti-bullying field. And many of our competitors tout strategies like stand up to the bully or power in numbers. We don't do any of that. We look at the one thing every person can control, themselves. We give you the tools to feel more confident. And that'll ensure that A, you aren't the bully, but B, the things other people do to you won't matter as much. Now, another big reason for our success is a peer-to-peer strategy. I'm 17 years old, a senior in high school. I can relate to students on a much different level because I'm one of them. I speak their language. Now this year, we brought on Lisa Bachman as executive director because next year I'm going off to college. And my role is going to be changing to be a little bit more strategic, and Lisa's going to be taking over the day-to-day operations I used to run. But even though my role is changing, Lisa's going to be ensuring the success and growth of Honor Good Deeds. In the past, we've thrived on peer-to-peer interaction. And to make sure this continues, we're using our leadership academies. Not only are we creating young, confident leaders, but we're ensuring sustainability because those leaders bring students up underneath them as well. Now, our revenue stream to date has been based mainly on speaking, sponsorships, grants, and exhibitor fees. And so, as a part of this year's 2015 Tolerance Fair, we've added on a revenue stream in the form of a conference. This conference, which is appropriate for students and adults alike, is going to feature highly motivational speakers from across the country, targeted breakout sessions, and our resource center, designed to make you feel more confident in yourself. Now, what you don't know is that I have been scanning the room through my entire presentation, and I have now memorized all of your faces. I got a good memory like that. And the reason for that is on May 3rd, down at the Wolstein Center, there is going to be our 2015 Tolerance Fair and Conference, and I'll be very disappointed if I don't see every one of your faces there. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Now, our plan for the conference is in the next 5 years to grow so large that we attract international attention, bringing people from all over the world to see what we have to offer in the great city of Cleveland, Ohio. Now, funding from Sea Change and any other opportunities here tonight is going to be used in a couple of distinct ways. The first is that our 2015 Tolerance Fair and Conference that you will all be at on May 3rd is our I Want to Tell You initiative will be unveiled there. This initiative is going to allow people to create short videos, sharing their story and expressing their individuality. This is going to work on two fronts of what we cover. It's going to empower the person making the video, but it's also going to educate every single viewer. These videos can focus on themes. Our main one, I want to tell you. For example, I want to tell you that I have diabetes. And even though it may seem that I'm moody at times, it could mean that my blood sugar is just low. I'm not upset with you. Or I want to tell you that I have autism. And even though I may not be looking you directly in the eyes, I really am interested in what you're saying. This initiative will be shareable. That way we can educate as many people as possible. But it will also be searchable. So somebody who has recently been diagnosed with something can go and find the real stories of real people going through similar situations. And we will also link to organizations providing resources for the differences and challenges that we struggle with every day. Now, another way that funding will be used is something that I personally am extremely excited about. It's called our 60 campaign. And in short, this will allow the sponsoring of students from disadvantaged communities, inner city Cleveland, to attend the Tolerance Fair at no cost to them. Every $60 we raise in association with this campaign will cover the transportation, food, ticket price, the experience of a lifetime for these students. Now, while tonight's a competition between us 8 organizations for funding, this 60 campaign is something we can all get involved with. For less than the cost of a good night out, you can send a student from Cleveland on the path to success. And if you are interested in getting involved in helping our city, please come see me after. Now, unfortunately, my elementary school story is not unique. People around the world face insurmountable intolerance every single day. At Honor Good Deeds, we're doing what we can to change that, but we can't do it alone. And that's why we need your support. That's why I'm so humbled and honored to be here in front of all of you tonight. Whether it's just sharing our message, sponsoring a student from Cleveland, attending the fair, or helping out in an even bigger way, every little bit counts, and I can't wait to work with all of you. So I thank you in advance for your votes tonight, for attending the Tolerance Fair, for sponsoring students, and for helping our city. Because I know that together, we can make a difference. Thank you.
Next, I want to introduce Allison Tanker, the founder of Tigress.
How many of you here want to change the world? Awesome. Now, how many of you feel like you know how to do that? Maybe not as many of us. Yeah, everybody over here, right? I'm here tonight to share with you a bit more about social entrepreneurship as an incredibly effective way to create social change, but more so how I'm fostering that skill set with the next generation of young women. My name is Allison Tanker, and I'm the founding director of Tigress. Tigress is a social enterprise that empowers young women through experiential learning opportunities and entrepreneurship, ultimately to help them become more confident, passionate, and creative leaders. We do this by partnering with high schools and universities in the region to help them run workshops, coaching, and club sessions that help young women foster the skill set and mindset that ultimately allow them to figure out how to take their ideas and put them into action and therefore impact their community. I'm a firm believer in entrepreneurship as a tool for empowerment based on the 8 years experience I have in this field, but also the experiences I had working internationally in Latin America, the Caribbean, and the UK, where I was coaching and training micro-entrepreneurs and social enterprises that were founded by Richard Branson, Bonovu II, and Ashoka Fellows. And in these experiences, we kept seeing this pattern of women really finding their sense of self-worth and becoming into this sort of transformational process while they were bringing their own ideas into action and ultimately impacting their communities. In order to continue providing that transformational experience, I returned back to our hometown here of Cleveland to inspire this next generation of young women in a similar way. Back in August 2013, I started doing my research and found out that 74% of young women listed their favorite activity as improving the world around them. Yet only a third felt that they could be a leader in that space. And this is specifically indicative of the confidence gap that generally starts to develop for young women in their early teens. And this is what happens when there's a lot of expectations put on them by family, friends, the media, society in general, ultimately really affecting their sense of confidence and what they can achieve. Another gap I identified in my research, when specifically looking at the entrepreneurship education space here in the region, was that for every 3 students studying entrepreneurship, only 1 of them was a woman. Furthermore, within the millennial space, there's a huge interest for young people that are interested in studying certain types of careers that will allow them to ultimately make an impact. Again, within our own community, only about 20% of those schools in our area are offering any kind of curriculum in social entrepreneurship. So in order to address these gaps, I created the Tigers program with a specially designed Changemaker curriculum that incorporates human-centered design thinking, lean startup methodologies, all with the focus of social impact. The intent is really to provide these young women with a toolkit which really moves them through the process, starting with identifying a social problem, reframing it as an opportunity, moving through to empathy interviews where they understand the needs of people and do some market research. From there, then designing an innovative solution to that problem, putting an action plan together, and ultimately implementing that work. Because it's through that process that they really start to learn a lot more about themselves and foster a whole host of skills. These skills include innovation, creative problem solving, empathy, design thinking, action planning, self-awareness. In addition to these skills, our impact data is showing that 92% of the young women that participate in our programs are more confident creating social change and implementing their ideas. And the reason this data is so compelling is if we reflect back to the earlier statistic that only a third of these young women generally feel like they can be a leader that influences the world in a positive way, knowing that programs like Tigris that ultimately provide them with the tools and experience to gain these types of skills and mindset can ultimately shift their own perception of themselves as a leader and really reduce that confidence gap 3 times over. In addition to the social value we're creating for our users, being the young women, we're also creating social value for our partners and customers, being the high schools and colleges. We've partnered with over 16 different schools in the area over the past year and a half, who've explained to us the different levels of value. The first of which they've mentioned is that they're able to recruit and retain more students with this type of innovative programming. They're also able to embed entrepreneurial thinking and skills in the future workforce, which are very much these 21st century skills that most of the universities are interested in at this stage. Additionally, they're able to empower women innovators, which, as we know, is receiving a lot of attention with regards to the STEM fields, but in addition, within entrepreneurship, we saw that gap earlier of only 1 woman to every 3 men that are part of these programs. And lastly, they're able to really invest in problem-solving leaders and developing them to go out there into the world as our next emerging leadership. The flow of our programming that we've developed out with our partners starts with a promotional event. We do this by engaging the students in a conversation around social entrepreneurship, discussing the concepts and female leadership and how to ultimately create social change. We then flow into our weekend workshop where we get our hands on experience of moving from that idea all the way through action, in order to launch a social change project by the end of the weekend, really going through that self-discovery process and gaining those skills along the way. The latter part of the partnership includes a club chapter where we're able to continue building that sense of community for these young women, where they can be around other like-minded ladies, but also continue to build out their ideas and foster social change. We have three different revenue streams at this stage. Our workshops have a fee that's attached. We have an hourly coaching rate as well as a monthly club membership fee. As you see into year 2017, we incorporate a licensing model which will allow us to really scale out the impact to really sell this curriculum off to a variety of other schools nationwide. What's exciting is that once we get to that stage, we're really able to start impacting a wider number of young women with a goal of affecting over 2,000 by 2018 on an annual basis. In order to continue accelerating our growth and impact, an investment tonight would allow us to continue growing our partnerships here locally, but also to help us design an educator guide, which will be the first step towards that licensing model. If this is something that's of interest to you and feeling you're interested in this journey, I invite you to come and speak to me afterwards and continue the conversation so that we can together go out there and empower more confident, passionate, and creative female leaders for the next generation. Thank you very much.
Well, if you haven't been inspired enough, next we're going to hear from Dan Mansour, the founder of GiveNext. Dan?
Thank you. Americans are going to give away $600 million. They're going to do that today. They're going to do that every day. And yet giving is one of the most difficult things to do on the internet, mainly because most people still do it by mail. Now, GiveNext is an online and mobile platform in which people can record and transact all their giving in partnership with the causes that they care about. See, the problem today is that 21st century fundraising is still based on a piece of technology from the 1800s, the postage stamp. 90% of giving is still done by direct mail. GiveNext employs a proven technology and a proven business model that's been used by Amazon, by E-Trade, and by even Zappos to allow people to give faster and more quickly. Before I tell you the details of the program, let me just tell you a little bit about the company. We're a triple bottom line company. We first of all believe in making a profit. Second of all, we want to support the generosity of individuals and people who really want to make a difference. And finally, we want a sustainable solution which helps get rid of some of the 3.8 billion pieces of solicitation mail that are mailed out every year. I've spent my career in the nonprofit sector. For 30 years, I've been working for universities as fundraiser, also helping nonprofits as a consultant. And I've learned quite a bit. And one of the things I've realized is there are essentially three ways in which nonprofits can increase their revenues. First of all, they can find new donors, which is really difficult. The second is that they can ask these donors to give more, which is also pretty hard. But the area we're focusing on, and the thing that I was struggling with for most of my career, is why don't people give year after year? How do we retain donors and build that loyalty? Well, here's how nonprofits approach their work. On January 1st, they don't know if you're going to give before the end of the fiscal year, before December 31st. So what do? They write to you and contact you as often as possible in hopes that you'll give before the end of the year. Well, is this working? No, not really. The average retention rate is 39%, which is a decrease from 50% only 7 years ago. In our research, we also find out that people tend to stop giving to charities due to the annoyance of over-solicitation. So the strategies nonprofits are using are actually going against them. Well, why is that? Well, the first is giving is actually hard. Why should the act of giving be harder than the decision to make a gift? If you want to support IdeaStream here today, what is it going to take for that to happen? The second is we often are confused. We don't have easy access to records. We don't know the last time we gave, and we don't know how much. We're combining these two with a solution called GiveNext. First is the simplicity. You can give in a short period of time. And when we talked to our donors, they also asked, of course, for OMG, which you all know stands for Organize My Giving. They didn't want just an easy way to give. They also wanted records, and they wanted a single tax receipt. And here's how it works. You've just participated in the Cleveland International Film Festival, 100,000 people, and you want to support the cause. So you add them to your GiveNext portfolio. You simply touch the logo. Immediately pops up the last gift that you made and the amount and the date, and estimates what you're going to give based on your personal giving record. You hit that button and you're done. Total of 5 seconds. But here's where GiveNext gets exciting. Instead of getting a letter in the mail 2 weeks later saying, please save this for your tax purposes, for our GiveNext nonprofit partners, they can add a 30-second video they may have recorded just that morning, thanking the donors for the gift and telling them what's new, what's happening on the horizon. It's one of a whole multitude of benefits that our nonprofit partners get out of by participating with us. Now, our competitive advantage are the following 3 things. First, it's simplicity. It literally takes 5 seconds to make a gift. The simplicity is also in record keeping and in your tax receipts. The second is the thing that the nonprofits have asked for. We're giving them amazing data. We can give them collective philanthropic data that might inform them on the other interests of their donors. We'll never reveal individual information, but collectively it might inform them on what their message should be, the kinds of events that might be of interest to their constituency. And finally, we want to employ all the great understanding that's happening on campuses and universities, what researchers are learning about what motivates people's behavior. A simple one may be we tend to give when other people are watching. Well, what does that mean in a technological world? It simply means that we may be able to share on Facebook or on our social media the gifts that we're giving, not necessarily the amounts, but letting our friends know that we're supporting the institutions they may also have an interest in. Now, is there a market out there? Well, clearly we talked about the $600 million, but what does that mean? Well, about 75% of American adults contribute to charities. And they give away $230 billion in individual gifts every year. So the market is significant. But what about the competition? Well, I love my competition because the competition right now is the US Postal Service. And if you think about a younger generation that does their banking online, does all of their bill paying online, and tells their parents never to tell the university where they live, you realize we need a new solution than the post office to reach that new generation. And while there is 10% of giving is going online through both portal sites as well as credit cards and PayPal, there's no industry leader, so to speak. There's an opportunity for a creative, innovative company to take this business. Now, how does our revenue model work? Well, we take a small percentage of every transaction, up and above the credit card fee. And to give you an example, this is what the revenue stream might look like. Now, keep in mind, when a nonprofit encourages their donors to make a gift through the GiveNext platform, these donors add, on average, 3 to 4 extra charities and causes into their portfolio. And GiveNext will take a percentage of each of those transactions as well. And it's easy to see if we find the right number of the right nonprofits to start with. A very small number of nonprofits who are using this platform to encourage our donors to support them can make a fairly significant impact on our revenue stream. Now, we're at that stage where we've tested the problem. We think we found a great solution. The site is active and people have come to the site to actually make their gifts. But we now need to advance the platform to allow nonprofits to capture their profile and to push this profile and their site out to the GiveNext site out to their constituency. Now, I've benefited from the great advice of many people in this room as well as the Cleveland community as a whole. But I've also had some special contacts through my own personal network. The former CFO of JP Morgan Chase has been an advisor, as well as the founder of Priceline, who's also the CEO and chairman of Walker Digital. The real find was a gentleman who literally stumbled into my lap. He was the CTO of a company called Braintree Payment Processing out of Chicago. And he had nothing to do after the company got sold to eBay for $800 million. So he helped me develop the platform, told me to pay his bill when I had the money. But in addition to that, we've gotten great validation in the last year from Kiva Zip, where 141 people in 14 countries supported us with a loan. I was part of an accelerator before this, as well as getting support from Cozy in the pitch competition. And a few weeks ago, the Student Venture Fund also came forward with an investment. So we're getting the right kind of response from the community, and we're really grateful for that. I want to end by just simply saying that Cleveland has been a center of innovation almost from its start. And while we know about the traffic light and the padded bicycle seat that were invented here in Cleveland, and we're grateful for those contributions to our lives, what a lot of people don't know is that Cleveland has also been the center of philanthropic innovation. with the First United Way, the First Community Foundation. And with your help, the next great innovation in philanthropy is going to be Give Next. Thank you very much.
Please let me introduce Sarah Misconish, the founder of Modern Good.
Hello, my name is Sarah Misconish, and I'm the founder of Modern Good. Modern Good partners nonprofit organizations with graphic designers to create t-shirt campaigns that raise funding and awareness through fashion. I'm a graphic designer who believes in the power of community engagement. The vast majority of nonprofit organizations don't have the capacity to staff a graphic designer, and in fact rely on volunteers like myself. Through my volunteer experience in working with nonprofit organizations, I've learned that charitable giving has changed. Individual charitable donations have been on the decline since 2006, and that problem was exacerbated by the recession. In fact, 82% Americans plan to decrease their individual charitable gifts this year alone. Fortunately, there's an economic behavior on the rise, which is the rise of the socially conscious consumers. This demographic chooses to support and purchase goods and services that benefit a social mission, whether that's a bottle of Ethos water from Starbucks, a pair of shoes from Tom's, or a t-shirt created by the Modern Good. However, the gap between the nonprofit world and the socially conscious consumer is enormous. Modern Good can bridge that gap. Modern Good creates limited edition apparel that directly supports a social cause. We give you the opportunity to wear your support for your favorite organization right on your sleeve. And here's how it works. It all starts with a Modern Good partnership. The nonprofit partner fills out the impact brief, giving us a deep understanding of the organization and their mission. We take that information in the impact brief and create messaging, impactful and unique designs, and personalize their specific impact. So in the case of the Greater Cleveland Food Bank, our launch partner, each purchase made on the moderngood.com provides 10 meals to hungry people in our community. We take those designs and then we launch a 30-day pre-sale campaign exclusively on the moderngood.com. On day 31, we close the campaign and then we go into fulfillment mode. Modern Good has a deep commitment to sustainability, and we utilize a print-on-demand model, creating only what we've sold. We also use sustainable and organic apparel. From there, we leverage a partnership with Lutheran Metropolitan Ministries Connecting the Dots program to pack and ship our orders. The Connecting the Dots program provides employment opportunities for children aging out of the foster system. From there, the Modern Good consumer gets a package delivered to their door with a t-shirt, a personalized thank you note from the nonprofit organization, and information on how they can get deeper involved into the organization as well, whether through volunteering, board opportunities, or anything else. Modern Good makes an impact directly back to the nonprofit organization, and we start the cycle all over again with a brand new nonprofit. And in the case of our launch partner, the Greater Cleveland Food Bank, this is how it works. That impact brief information allowed us to create this specific messaging that says the best meals are shared. And when you're wearing a t-shirt that says the best meals are shared, you know that you shared 10 meals with people in our community. Also, when you put on the product page, right there in hot pink, it lets you know what the social impact is, and you also have the ability to share the product and your purchase directly to any of your social media platforms. The market size for this is huge and untapped. In Cuyahoga County alone, there are over 13,000 nonprofit organizations, but that comprises less than 1% of the nonprofit market nationally. Competitively, we know that there are lots of different ways that you can make a t-shirt. However, we are the only no-cost fundraiser available to nonprofits to date. We also utilize a unique set of partnerships and an impact ambassador program that helps the nonprofit build community, develop a donor base outside of the donors that they already work with, and strengthen your brand through our unique social media messaging. Our market penetration strategy relies heavily on partnerships. Each Modern Good campaign increases its reach through a threefold partnership. We promote through the nonprofits channels, the graphic designers channels, as well as civic organization channels as well. However, our most unique asset is our Impact Ambassador program. What you see up there are 12 of our over 25 Impact Ambassadors. And these Impact Ambassadors are writers, bloggers, and active social media users that reach over 50,000 people each day. This Impact Ambassador program is easily scalable and replicable all across the United States as well as internationally. And in fact, this Impact Ambassador is known Impact Ambassador Program is known to work, as Modern Good was featured on a prominent social good blog out of Minneapolis just last week. 2015 is our pilot program, and in our pilot year, we plan to do 5 campaigns. We just launched our campaign with the Greater Cleveland Food Bank last week. A $10,000 grant from the Sea Change program would allow us to bring all of our production in-house and significantly reduce our costs by allowing us to purchase a studio and screen printing equipment. That $10,000 grant allows us to quadruple our profits and impact at the end of 2016 and put us on a path for sustainable growth. That sustainable growth moves into 2017, and with that purchase of equipment, it allows us to build out a job training program with some of our partners. I'm the founder and creative director, but I have help in growth and development as well as finance help with my advisors, Kate Hanna and Brian Edwards. Going into 2015, we have really strong key performance indicators. Our 2015 pilot program is filled by the nonprofits you see up there, and we're already pushing nonprofits into our 2016 year. We're also multiplying our impact through our work with the Lutheran Metropolitan Ministries Connecting the Dots program, and the idea of Modern Good is being integrated into the Design for Social Impact curriculum at CSU this coming fall. Since we're e-commerce, web traffic matters. Since we've launched our Modern Good website, we've seen a web traffic increase of over 400% from January till April. Modern Good is seeking a $10,000 grant from Sea Change. That $10,000 grant will allow us to acquire studio space, purchase screen printing equipment, and bring all of our production in-house, significantly reducing our costs and making us a sustainable business in year 1. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your vote. My name is Sarah Musconish, and I'm the Modern Good.
So next I'd like to introduce Mansfield Frazier, who is the founder of Neighborhood Solutions, Inc., or you might better know as Chateau Huff.
Good evening. I'm very proud to be representing Neighborhood Solutions. We're inspired and informed by Majora Carter, an environmental activist from the Bronx, New York, who said one amazing thing: you shouldn't have to move to live in a better neighborhood. So what we did was took a lot in our Huff neighborhood, right at 66 and Huff, and we're turning it into an urban agricultural zone. We started in 2010 with the Reimagining Cleveland grant and built a winery. Last year, we just opened a biocellar, and we're going to be putting in solar and wind power, and most importantly, we're going to start our winery this year. We do this with people coming out of incarceration, because we know that going to prison isn't nearly as scary as coming home. What we do is reach out to people in a halfway house and ask them, are they serious about changing their lives? If they like working inside, we send them to Brandon. They can work in the kitchen. The others that like working outside, and that's why some guys fail. They just cannot work inside very well. We put them to work outside. We put them to work pruning, we put them to work installing, learning construction skills and trades, and it works. We so far have had, since 2010, we've had about 50 people go through our program, and we have about a 50% success rate that have gone on. We're a transitional employer. This year, we're starting, in fact, tomorrow we have our first group of high school kids. Instead of doing just re-entry, we're switching over to pre-entry. How can we stop young people from going into that institution to begin with? And we're going to do it by dangling dollars. We pay them, they come in, they're going to do work study, they're going to learn some vineyard skills, and there's a tremendous career in the vineyard industry, believe me, there is. Reimagining Cleveland gave us a grant, and we named our vineyard the Vineyards of Chateau Huff. And people smiled nicely and said, if we would have said the Vineyards of Hunting Valley or the Vineyards of Westlake, nobody would have raised an eyebrow. But when we said the vineyards of Chateau Huff, they did a double take. It's a political statement. What we're actually saying is that the land that we occupy in Huff is just as valuable to us as the land they occupy in Hunting Valley or Westlake. And if you come to our vineyard, right in the inner city, you won't see a fence anywhere. There's no fences around. We will never fence ourselves off from our neighbors. We don't have to, because in every community, there's 13, 14, 15-year-old boys that act out. What we do, we hire them, real simple. They work for us. When we first started, and anytime you start a project within a community, you have to get community buy-in. You really have to get your neighbors to believe and want what you're doing in their community, because it's their community too. And I was out working by myself, and one of my neighbors asked, she said, I can't, my arthritis won't let me come help you, but she hired these little dudes and paid them to come work for me. This was my first crew. And so I put them to work picking up rocks in the vineyard. We were just clearing the land. And as kids would do, they picked up rocks for about 30 seconds or a minute, then went back to playing again. And so what I did was I painted that X on the wall of the building next to the lot and asked them, who can hit that X? Within about an hour, all of the stones were packed up underneath that X. So I learned something about letting people do what they're good at. But before long, a lot of people started finding out what we were doing. In addition to our workers, we started getting volunteers, experts in viticulture. In fact, one day we had a retired judge who came, and he didn't realize it, but he was working next to a guy that he sent to prison 5 years before. Worked out okay, though. Then we really got popular. We got into Oprah's old magazine. Oprah liked us, but there's a downside to it. Now she won't quit calling me, you know. I try to tell Oprah I'm too old. Who's that handsome gentleman there in the center? Then we got our first vintage wine. We took and entered it into Geauga County Fair. I didn't want to do it. I didn't think we had a chance. Lo and behold, we won a second place ribbon our first year with our first vintage. And they said that's like a golfer picking up a golf club for the first time and hitting a hole in one. So now we know we can make good wine. The price went up too. Our current partners, we have a great list of current partners, and we just did a handshake agreement last week with the Botanical Garden, so we have a new potential, well, not potential, they're a current partner now, that we will probably be thinking about doing hops, because while we're vintners, while we do grapes, we think that there's money in growing hops to sell to the craft brewers. But our big project is our winery. We can grow grapes, but we have to process them to get a license to be able to sell the wines that we make. So this month, later this month, we will start cleaning out the building that you saw with that X on it to build our winery right in Huff, right adjacent to our vineyard. Our architect, Rob Donaldson, I see him sitting there with his lovely wife. We know that that will give us a capacity to use our own grapes and imported grapes, and we will eventually get to where we can sell wine at about $28 a bottle, and that should produce a couple $100,000 in profit, but we're going to start on a different tack. There's our bottle mix. We're going to start with wine at $125 a bottle. We're going to benchmark our price, and we're only going to sell it one place, in Edwards. That way we establish that we're making top quality wine. Then, because here's the secret, you can go down in price, you can't go up. If you start making $15 a bottle of wine, you'll never get to the high price. So we don't have to sell a lot of $125 bottle wine, just enough to let people know that's what we think of it. And we know, we've learned how to make good wine. A $25,000 investment from Sea Change would allow us to build one more acre. That's what it takes to put an acre of land in, employ about 10 more at-risk people, and the grapes will turn into probably $100,000 worth of profit. We're Neighborhood Solutions, we're Chateau Huff. We love having visitors, and we also love having volunteers. Please come see us. Thank you.
Next, we have Kritika Saretta, who is the co-founder of Not Profit, which is K-N-O-T Profit. Kritika.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kritika Saretta, and I am with Not Profit. Not Profit is an online platform that helps couples that are engaged to be married plan their dream wedding and registry, and every single thing that they do through our site just happens to support any charity of their choice. So as you see here, my name is Kritika, and I am a co-founder with Joshua Saretta, and we both have the last name because we're married. And when we started planning our own wedding, we ran into a number of problems in the wedding industry. And as time went on, we couldn't find a solution. We just didn't feel like the wedding industry fit our needs. And we reached out to our wedding vendors in our frustration, and they too didn't have a solution to our problems. And we reached out to Style Me Pretty, Green Wedding Shoes, Martha Stewart Weddings, the really, really big guys, and they too saw that there wasn't a solution to our problems. And through our frustration, we ended up winning a contest with those big identities to create this solution to the problems that so many other couples were actually feeling too. And for those of you that haven't planned a wedding recently and don't know what this problem is I'm talking about, it's that the wedding industry just hasn't evolved to serve the modern couple. So there are 2 million couples that get married each year, and they're increasingly spending more and more on their weddings, $55,000 on average for a US city wedding. Yeah, I know. We like things big and glitzy. And 1.3 million of those couples, though, are actually socially responsible couples. So these are couples that are going out in their everyday life and purchasing items such as Tom's shoes or Warby Parker sunglasses, where they know that a portion of their item is being sent to a charity. And they want to do this with the biggest purchase of their life, their wedding, but there really isn't a solution out there for this. And 74% of couples live together before marriage. That means they don't really have the need for the typical pots and pans and other registry items, and they feel a void. They don't know what to do instead, and they want something to be meaningful, though. They don't want to just accept gifts from their guests that they'll end up returning and feeling really bad about. They want to unite with their guests for a really meaningful cause. But wedding vendors lag behind the trends like Tom's Shoes or Warby Parker. They don't even know where to start. And nonprofit organizations don't really have the resources to provide couples with all of these services. And the tools that are out there are really, really hard to find and even harder to use, enough to frustrate Josh and I to the point of starting Not Profit. We've created a solution that is one website with 4 services to solve this big problem. It starts out with a donation-based wedding registry where we allow couples to accept donations to any charity of their choice instead of accepting gifts. Or we allow couples to post 4 items or experiences that they really, really want or need and allow their wedding guests to come together to group fund for those big ticket items. I know Josh and I wanted airfare tickets, and a lot of other couples want that really, really nice KitchenAid blender, but no one guest is going to buy that for them. So we understand that their guests would love to come together to do that for their couple, and we allow them to do that, and a portion of every guest contribution just happens to support the charity of the couple's choice. We also allow couples to book any wedding vendor through notprofit.com, and every wedding vendor booked through our website donates 10% of their fee to the charity of the couple's choice. I know a number of you have been to a wedding recently and have found wedding favors such as cookies or a little bottle opener left in your place setting, and I don't know how many of you still know where they are. Yeah, probably not a lot of you. So couples are now opting to make a meaningful donation to the charity of their choice in lieu of those little wedding favors. And how this works from the perspective of a couple is actually extremely, extremely simple. It all starts with the couple creating their very own wedding website. This wedding website is completely customized to the couple. The couple gets their own URL and everything, and it allows them to connect to their wedding vendors and connect to their wedding guests, all while supporting the nonprofit organization of their choice. Because our wedding website also has a feature of the donation-based wedding registry. And this is the registry I just mentioned that allows couples to accept donations instead of traditional wedding gifts. But let's get real, we all want a little something too. So we allow the couple to post the item that they really, really, really need and allow their guests to come together to group fund for that item, and a portion of every guest contribution supports the charity of the couple's choice. So we turn every single wedding registry item into a Tom's Shoes or Warby Parker at absolutely no effort from the couple at all. And best of all, what's completely unique that no other company offers is that every single wedding vendor that a couple books through notprofit.com donates 10% of their fee to the charity of the couple's choice. Think about 10% of that $55,000. It's a lot of money. And best of all, wedding vendors love doing this. They see this just like any other referral program that they're already using already. But instead of giving that 10% to a big corporation, they're giving it to a nonprofit. And so this is all completely free to the couple. So how do we make money? It all starts out with the couple choosing the nonprofit organization of their choice. They can choose any 501c nonprofit organization that they please. And then the couple encourages their wedding guests to donate to the nonprofit through their wedding website, so purchasing any of our wedding registry options. And we take a percentage of every single transaction that goes through our site. The couple then books their wedding vendor. The wedding vendor goes on that same wedding website and donates 10% of their fee to the charity of the couple's choice, and we take a percentage of that transaction as well. And so why would a couple choose to use us than all the other services out there? Simply put, we make the wedding planning process easier, and they just happen to be able to do good. This is completely free for the couple to use. They love the organizational tool because there's no other organizational tool like it out there, and they just happen to make a difference to a charity that they really, really care about. Josh and I personally were able to raise almost $6,000 to a nonprofit that's close to my family, and we're actually visiting that nonprofit for part of our honeymoon just to see the impact that we were able to make. Significant impact that you can make without having to spend anything at all, which is pretty amazing. And so talking about the market size, I mentioned that there are 2 million couples that get married per year. And 1.3 million of those couples are socially responsible couples. If we just get 0.4% of those couples, we'll be a $2.5 million company and would have raised over $15 million in donations. That's a lot of money. So where are we now? We started out about a year ago doing a lot of research. So Josh and I loved this idea, but we didn't really know if other couples out there would like it too. And after talking with Style Me Pretty and Green Wedding Shoes and the big identities in the industry, we realized that a lot of other couples were feeling the same problems we were, and their guests loved the solution as well. From there, we entered into Flash Start's Business Accelerator, where we created our full-scale product. And we are now in the stage with hopefully the help of C-Change. C-Change has helped us refine our product even further, and we're now able to take this fully launched product to the national market. And we would love your help in helping us do that and helping us just reach as many couples as we can, making the impact that we know we can make as wide as possible. I'm Kritika Saretta, and I thank you so much for listening to us today.
Dan Brown, co-founder, Rust Belt Riders.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. As Mike mentioned, my name's Dan, and as of a week ago, I was working at an organization called Cleveland Neighborhood Progress, which convenes all of the neighborhoods from around Cleveland. And I just quit to become a garbage man. And so for the past 9 months, I've been working really hard with a dedicated group of 4 people to form a company called Rust Belt Riders Composting. And so what we do is we're a worker-owned, bike-based, organic waste removal solution. So there's that triple bottom line. And what we do is trying to help advance and sustain local food systems in Cleveland. Now how we do it looks a bit like this. So we've got a bicycle and we've got a trailer, and the trailer can hold around 300 pounds of food waste at a time. And we go to any one of the 200 community gardens across Cleveland to bring them rotting food. And this rotting food is like gold to gardeners. It's something that every gardener needs to grow more soil, because if you're a gardener like I am, you're gardening on soil that used to have a house on it or used to have a business on it. So the reason we're doing this is because 40% of all the food that's grown in the United States is wasted. That costs our economy $185 billion a year. And this is at a time where 1 in 4 children throughout Northeast Ohio are going hungry or are food insecure. So we thought, how could we capture that waste and use it to provide value-added good and service to some of the people who are doing the hardest work in Cleveland, growing food for our most vulnerable. So to put that in perspective, it could fill the amount of food waste produced in a day in this country could fill our beloved Cleveland Browns Stadium every single day without fail. So the way we do this is by twofold. One is by providing a service to residents in which we provide them with a 5-gallon bucket just like this, and they'll put it next to their garbage can or recycling can and put their banana peels, eggshells, coffee grounds in there. And we'll come around as often as once a week to pick this up, and we charge them $5 to do so. On the other end of the spectrum, we work with schools and businesses to collect their food waste. We charge them by the pound, and we then bring that to community gardens nearby them. Now, how do you make money doing this? So our revenue model looks very similar to the life cycle of a carrot. So the carrot needs good, healthy soil to grow in. It then is purchased, processed, and there's waste at the end of that process. So we provide people with a receptacle to put that in. We then work with gardeners to ensure that that gets turned into high-quality soil, and that goes back to help grow carrots for the next season. We found a way that we can generate revenue at the exchange of each cycle. So currently, we're operating in downtown Cleveland, the near west side, and we're going to be working in University Circle in the next couple months. The reason we're currently working there is because we're bike-based. So what we'd like to say is that if you have roads, if you have land, and if you have food waste, you're a community we can work with. So the reality is that Cleveland is pretty behind in this trend. Cities across the United States are looking at this as in very, very serious terms. Cities like Seattle, Boston, San Francisco, Las Vegas even, and Austin, Texas, have adopted food waste diversion strategies, which either make it downright illegal to throw away a banana peel, as it should be, or incentivize businesses to properly dispose of their food waste. So if we look locally, there really aren't any competitors on a large scale, though, particularly for residents, though for some large-scale businesses, you do have an option to compost, but those don't have a direct benefit to the community that you're living in. And on the other side of the spectrum, we've got the home gardeners who've been composting for years, and we think that we can tap into their knowledge base and teach us a little bit something that we don't know yet about compost, but also connect them to a network of growers that are very passionate about providing food for their neighbors. So how this looks in practice is on the top left, you'll see Michael, who's one of the co-owners of Rust Belt Riders, picking up from Bon Bon Cafe, a cafe and restaurant on West 25th and Lorraine. So we collect all their pre-consumer food waste in a bucket and take it off. And on the bottom right, we collect food waste from residents. Just like you'd put out your recycling, you could put out your compost, and we'll pick it up. From that point, we load it into our trailer, we weigh it, and in real time, we can give invoices and impact scales to all of our members, load it into a trailer, and we're on our way to one of 15 community gardens that we work with. There, after 3 months of being in a compost pile, we've got a value-added good that we could either sell and access or donate directly to the community gardens that it's processed at, and that's compost. So ideally, we want any one of the 22,000 vacant lots from across Cleveland to look a little bit more like this, providing healthy and affordable food to some of Cleveland's most vulnerable populations. We haven't been able to do this alone. We've got a lot of early adopters that bought into this idea, who saw the value in where other people see waste. And so these are just some of them. There's some of your favorite coffee shops, restaurants, breweries, and nonprofits. And one really exciting partnership that I want to point out is with Councilman Joe Simperman. He's going to be piloting our program with 150 of his residents throughout this summer. And in addition to that, working on legislation modeled after Boston's to incentivize businesses with tax incentives to divert their organic waste responsibly. So if we look at our finances, in year one, like I said, we're 9 months into this, and we've done it all with just $2,000. We bought a bike and a trailer. And with that, we've got 50 members, and by next year, we think that with a pilot program and growing support, we'll be able to reach 250 members. And by year 3, we think that our membership will warrant buying property to begin processing and packaging our own compost, which we can sell at farmers markets and at gardening stores across Northeast Ohio. So with an investment from Sea Change, we think that we could reach all across Northeast Ohio. For every $2,000 invested, we've proven that we can make that money stretch. We can buy a bike and buy a trailer and begin expanding. In addition to that, we need support to allow our members to be able to update and manage their accounts, as well as brag about the amount of food waste they've been able to divert. We think that it's important for people to tell the story of why diverting food waste is important. In addition to that, we're piloting a program with Notre Dame College that will employ college students to begin diverting organic waste from their campus to community gardens throughout South Euclid. So I invite you to follow us and support us. I want to thank my family, my friends, and my business partners for all the support and Sea Change as well. We've learned a lot, and I tremendously appreciate all of your attention.
Last, but certainly not least, we have Nicole McGee, co-founder of Upcycle Parts Shop. Go get them.
It's almost over. Thank you for being here this long. I have one question for the crowd tonight. Have you ever seen somebody throw something away and thought, hey, that's not garbage? That happens to me all the time. I'm Nicole McGee. I'm the founder of Upcycle Parts Shop, and I'm a reuse artist, meaning that I work with leftover materials. I was honored in 2012 to be nominated by Cleveland Magazine as one of the most interesting people in Cleveland for that work. When we talk about creative reuse, it's about taking leftover materials and transforming them in a way that adds value. Upcycling is another way to say that. I started doing this with jewelry, and then I started doing this with flowers. These are vinyl flooring samples. And you might recognize these flowers from the tabletops of one of my favorite restaurants and my longest corporate partner, Aladdin's Eateries. This little centerpiece is across the table in 40 different restaurants across 5 states. And I share this with you to say that there is a marketplace for handmade upcycled goods, and I've been able to leverage that with corporate contracts. I also wanted to say that this is a much bigger opportunity than a sole artist alone, and it's a much bigger problem than for a sole artist alone. Landfills and the rate at which we're filling them in society is a giant problem. Reuse is one small solution because we capture value. Instead of it going there, we give it a longer life. Another problem in our society is disconnection from one another, from our neighbors, and from our own ability to make things with our hands like we used to at another era in our country. Upcycle Parts Shop is a response to those problems. Together with my colleague, Devin Fagan-Herdman, we launched Upcycle Parts Shop last summer with the support of many others. We are a community-based creative reuse arts center. Our mission is to provoke creativity and promote community through reuse. This is our mission, and it's our work every day. We work out of a storefront location in Cleveland's St. Clair neighborhood. This is where people bring us donated leftovers and where we offer them for extremely low cost because we get them donated. Think thrift store meets art supply store. We're open 4 days a week. And inside our retail shop, we have a creative area in the back. We call this Art Bar on purpose because we know that kids love to craft, but we need a word like bar to get your attention. I hope it worked. In this space, we offer workshops, classes, we host birthday parties, and we also take this kind of programming off-site. And when we talk about waste, we're talking about exciting, interesting, usable, non-toxic pieces and parts from commercial, industrial, and residential waste streams. We're proud of what we've built at Upcycle Parts Shop, but this isn't our model. There's a national model. There's creative reuse centers around the country, and we've been trained by and continue to receive technical support from one of the industry leaders, our friends at the Scrap Exchange in Durham. We're a team of 5 friendly crafters, and we're all part-time, and one of our smiling faces is what you'll see when you come to visit us at Upcycle Parts Shop. Our sales plan is a varied strategy. You can see that we don't put all of our eggs in one basket, but we've come up with multiple programs and services to use that waste that we divert and make it available in ways that people want to spend money on. We're on track to earn nearly $45,000 in 2015 as we talk about our multiple revenue streams. We're visual people, and we thought you might be too. This is what our financial projections look like. With generous funding in 2014, we launched, and we earned $20,000 in earned income in our first half year. This year, we're on track to double that. And as you can see, each year that we're open, our earned income and our shop sales increase. One of our areas of biggest growth and in which we have a proven track record is corporate clients. Whether it's name tag making stations at a corporate event, internal team building exercises, or community arts programming that's underwritten by one of our partners, we have found a way to meet the needs, not just meet the needs of our partners with nonprofits and corporations, but excel at what we do. This is an area of big momentum for us. 20 organization and corporation partners last year, and we're on track to double that number as well this year. Speaking of momentum, the neighborhood we're located in is St. Clair Superior. We're a project of St. Clair Superior Development Corporation, and we're part of a broader revitalization strategy with them. The right half of this map is the neighborhood called St. Clair Neighborhood. Next year, the ground is breaking on a $25 million brand new high school a block away from us. Currently, a new food hub is being developed. Excuse me, a new food hub is being developed as a $7 million investment. I say these investment levels and these $1 million numbers because this is a neighborhood that is depressed, and it's important to be part of a team, and investment in this neighborhood is important. Socially and economically depressed in the St. Clair neighborhood. Our role as a part of that team is also to work with the existing community. They've been there for decades, and they want to have a part of being connected with a brighter future in their own neighborhood. And we do this in various ways. We have our storefront. One of the ways that we do this is youth-led beautification projects, so you can see some of that happening there. We also have community open studios where we sort of spread out onto the sidewalk in the warm months and offer programming and teach people what we know how to do and learn from them for what they know how to do. We also work with some of the materials we get diverted aren't quite art supplies, so we share those with the thrift stores that are located up and down the street from us. And the last way that I wanted to share with you is a little less tangible. It's the way that we, as a shop, open 4 days a week with regular hours that we're committed to being at, sort of serve as a community center, a community place where people come in and connect and come back, and we learn their names and they know ours and they meet each other. A great example of that is one of our most devout volunteers, Marino. He's, I think, 58 years old. He's Croatian. He moved to St. Clair when he was 10 years old, and he comes into our shop every day that we're open. Well, not every day. Every week he reminds us, and me in particular, that we're the new kids on the block in this neighborhood and that this is his neighborhood. But he's there all the time, and he knows everybody in the neighborhood, and he volunteers with us, and he builds us shelves, and he connects with others. He's a social guy. We chuckled the other day when this 58-year-old Croatian man was exchanging money with our 19-year-old African-American intern because she hemmed his pants. She's a fashion intern, and he asked her to hem his pants and take them home. That's the kind of connection that we don't aim to create, but that happens when you create an authentic location, a community-centered model. Here's some metrics on our social impact. We wanted to share these with you, and it's exciting because all of these numbers have increased since we last crunched them, including that 5.5 tons of waste diverted number. A quick story about the high school down the street. Students at St. Martin de Porres High School, we co-facilitated an after-school club with them last year, and they said, we want to make a public art project that we can see in our neighborhood. So we brought in what looked like bags of recycling, but really it was plastic bottles, and we showed them how to cut them, how to paint them, how to turn them into flowers. And then together, we installed them on telephone poles. They said, this is my first time holding a ladder, and this is my first time holding a hammer, and my first time on a ladder. And for all of us, it was our first time defacing telephone poles. But these are still up. They've made it through 2 winters. This is a great example. This is exactly what we do at Upcycle Part Shop. We capture value where others don't see it. We teach people how to do that with us. We create beauty, pride, and ownership in a place where people were asking for it. In 2014, Community Partnership for Arts and Culture led a study of the arts industry in Cleveland. And they chose our new revitalization strategy as one of 8 case studies for different ways that art and economic development are happening in Cleveland. We operate at the confluence of sustainability, economic development, community building, and creativity. And we think it's that confluence where the greatest social impact is possible. Speaking of impact, funding for Sea Change would allow us to take a product we've created, flowers out of plastic bottles, and engage a marketing professional to help us scale this product. We know that people are interested. We get interest all the time. We just don't have the capacity to scale it to become a local, regional, national brand that tells a story of upcycling, of transformation, of beauty, and of what we're doing here in St. Clair and in Cleveland. At Upcycle Part Shop, we like to say we're creating less waste and more art, and we'd like you to join us. Thank you.
Can we get another round of applause for all these amazing social enterprises? I want to remind you that all these folks went through a 6-week program and months of pitch practicing, all put together by Sea Change, which again does not have a full-time staff, does not have a building it occupies or even an office. It's a shared collaborative initiative of many different organizations, many of which that work and help different entrepreneurs already. You have ECDI, you have Launch House, you have the Hispanic Business Center, and a lot of nonprofit support organizations like BVU and the Center for Nonprofit Excellence, the Foundation Center, and many others. And I'm sorry if I didn't name you. I don't remember all of you off the top of my head. But again, it's in your program, all the organizations that help put Sea Change together. I want to welcome Hillary Sparks-Roberts, Executive Director of Social Venture Partners, to announce today's Crowd Favorite Award. Hillary.
All right, the moment you've been waiting for. Social Venture Partners is honored to present this $1,000 crowd favorite prize that all of you together collectively voted for. I need a drum roll. The winner is Mansfield Fraser Neighborhood Solutions. That's wonderful. Congratulations. Congratulations. So exciting. And next, I want to introduce Bill Lehman from the Business of Good for the next exciting portion of the show. Bill.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Good evening. I hope you're as humbled and inspired as I am. It's great to be surrounded by so many like-minded, like-mission people. And I thank you for being here this evening. On behalf of the funders of Sea Change, which include the Generation Foundation, the Burton D. Morgan Foundation, the Fred A. Lennon Charitable Trust, the George Gunn Foundation, and the Business of Good Foundation, I would like to announce the social impact investments to be made in the Sea Change class of 2015. Before I do so, I want to thank everyone that has helped make Sea Change possible. In addition to the funders mentioned, Sea Change relies heavily on a growing group of dedicated mentors and partners, all listed in your program, who have contributed their time and talent to help support the amazing social entrepreneurs we celebrate tonight. Members of the same group also held events at 10 colleges and universities throughout Northeast Ohio to encourage the next generation to pursue a career path filled with passion and purpose. As a result of these efforts, over 25 social enterprise plans were presented. One team from each campus was recognized and received $1,000 in funding to launch their venture. 5 of the best teams are being selected this week to compete for $5,000 in additional funding at the Startup Bikes Weekend at CSU, sponsored by Sea Change. The 3 winners of this regional social enterprise college competition will be invited to join this fall's Sea Change cohort. I especially want to thank Mike Shafarenko for leading this dedicated group of thoughtful, committed people intent on changing Northeast Ohio for the better. Yeah, please join me. Thank you. Great job. Because we believe strongly in every one of these social entrepreneurs, and thanks to the generosity of our funders, I am pleased to announce that every one of these social entrepreneurs will receive an investment from Sea Change this evening. We will now start with the announcement of 4 $1,000 investments, followed by investments of $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, and $20,000. In addition, all the social enterprises featured tonight will have access to a 0% interest loan up to $2,000, thanks to our partnership with Kiva Zip, a micro-lending organization that supports inspirational people in making a positive impact in their community. So with the Kiva Zip fund included, up to $70,000 will be invested here tonight. I must say that each of these social enterprises is more than worthy of the $20,000 Sea Change investment. But as a startup ourselves, resources are still limited. On that note, I encourage any foundation, corporation, or individual philanthropist in the audience who wants to invest in any of the social enterprises featured tonight, or who want to be part of the growing group of Sea Change funders, in support of our next cohort, to please contact me. Our goal tonight is to help generate over $100,000 in follow-on funding for the class of 2015 and make at least $100,000 in social impact investments at next year's event. So whether through Kiva Zip or Sea Change, please know that 100% of your funding will go directly to support the social enterprises to help them get started and scaled. None of your funding will go to operations or other overhead, making Sea Change perhaps the most efficient social impact investment vehicle you will find anywhere. Please join us. So without further ado, in alphabetical order, I would like to announce our $1,000 investment recipients. Are you ready? I would like to present to you our first $1,000 investment recipient. Give next. Come on, Dan. Congratulations. Appreciate it. Well done. Please. Thank you. I would like to present to you our second $1,000 investment recipient. Honor good deeds. Well done. Great job, man. I would like to present to you our third $1,000 investment recipient, not profit. Great job. And now I'd like to present to you our fourth $1,000 investment recipient, Tigress. Congratulations. All right, now the remaining Sea Changers will share in $50,000 of funding. I would like to present to you our $5,000 investment recipient, Modern Good. Congratulations, well done. Now I would like to present to you our $10,000 investment recipient, Upcycle Part Shop. Congratulations, great job, well done. Now I would like to present to you our $15,000 investment recipient, Neighborhood Solutions, Chateau Huff. Great job, Mansfield. Well done. And so while it is no longer a surprise for everyone, but before I do make one announcement, I have to say that Dan actually was not originally selected to be part of the Sea Change Accelerator, but he politely persisted, in fact pushed to be a part of it, and it's because of that persistence we know Dan will be very successful and use the $20,000 investment in a very significant way. So thank you, Dan. Good job, man. Well done. Well done. Let's hear it. Well done. So thanks again to all our funders, and congratulations again to all of our investment recipients. Mike?
Well, thank you all so very much. As Bill noted earlier, we really hope that the funding does not end with Sea Change, that support for any of these worthwhile social enterprises comes from some of you, maybe all of you today. If I didn't have a 7-month-old at home and wasn't paying for diapers and formula and college and daycare, I'm going to support them anyway. I'm just kidding. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And we hope you'll join us at the reception afterwards and mingle with all of these wonderful social enterprises. Thank you again. Great job.